So I put out a video yesterday about self-awareness in my notes to self, but I thought it might be useful to follow it up with kind of some simple and maybe achievable ways to start to improve self-awareness. Right, as I said in the video, self-awareness is an incredible superpower. It gives us a lot, and it not only is a superpower, it's actually a game-changing skill. And by it being a skill, it means that we can improve it, we can make it better through applying and really kind of focusing on it as something we want to develop. So I just thought I'd put together kind of 10 things we can do to improve it. So the first thing I think is really important for self awareness is journaling. Like, I know people say journaling all the time, and it's something that, people kind of get a bit bored of. But actually, if you actually sit down and say, how often do you journal? How often do you capture your thoughts? I think you'd probably be quite surprised at how little you actually write down your thoughts. So, by not writing down your thoughts, you're kind of caught in the kind of like the spin cycle of your mind. You're effectively in a washing machine, keep going around, keep going around, keep going around. And I think journaling is really great because what it does is it enables us to start capturing and making connections between how we feel, why we feel the way we do, what the connections were, and what the themes are. So over time, you can start to connect the dots. Now, journaling is a really powerful way also to get your subconscious mind out of yourself and onto the page. Right, there's a lot of stuff operating inside us that operates invisibly. We don't really see it until we capture it. So journaling, yeah, it's a pretty overly used word, but I guarantee most people don't do as much journaling as they should. And you can do journaling in different ways. You can be creative. That's a great way to journal. You could make music, whatever you want to do, as long as you're looking at your emotions as something outside of yourself, not just experiencing them all the time as an individual. You know, I think the next thing is, mindfulness and meditation. Like, once again, I'm sure you've tried meditation. You maybe even have a practice, and that's brilliant. Now, meditation, a lot of people think it's quite a basic thing to do, but it's so powerful. I can't emphasize how powerful it is. Meditation is the kind of mental equivalent of doing reps in the gym, right? Every time you do meditation, you're learning to observe your own mind and you're learning to experience yourself without judgment. You're allowing your thoughts to pass through. And I think what's incredible is a lot of us don't even realize that we're inside an experience of ourselves. We actually do sometimes believe that what's happening to us is real. And actually, a lot of what happens to us is created by us. We're effectively an actor in our own movie. And what mindful meditation enables us to do is to step back. you know, I'd say like thoughts to the mind are like eyesight to the eye. It's something that is a part of it, it's information. And we can kind of use that information to guide us, but we don't necessarily, it doesn't actually mean it's real, right? Eyesight isn't real. It's the brain that makes it useful. So really it's about understanding our mind. But meditation is a really great way to start to develop self-awareness. Believe me, it might not work for the first couple of weeks, but you will see benefits if you do a regular practice. So the third way to improve self-awareness is to seek feedback. Now, feedback is a really important part of growing. It's a really important part of understanding where you're at, what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well. What I would suggest though is don't just seek feedback from anybody. Try to seek feedback from people who have your best interests at heart. So that would mean asking trusted friends or family if you feel comfortable doing that, or even your mentors if you have them. It can be difficult because obviously you don't know what's going to come out, and sometimes you can get difficult information back, like maybe you don't feel comfortable with some of the feedback. But if you treat it as a process, then everything is useful. You can use it in some way to develop and grow. And you might not like what you hear, but that's a part of growth, isn't it? We sometimes need to hear things that we don't necessarily agree with, but in time we understand that actually that the hard road is the road to go down. But awareness will help you figure all that stuff out, and growing it will help you figure that stuff out faster. um and it's the good and the bad, right? You got to take both on board and you grow with it. Simple. So another great way to improve self-awareness is something called the VIA, Values in Action Strengths Test. This is a website. You can go there, you can take a test. Now, you've probably done all of the intelligence tests, you've done all of the kind of tests of character. You probably got your Myers-Briggs down. You probably know it off by heart. But I just want to say that the character strengths test is so useful because what it does is it reveals where we are most authentic in ourselves. What things we do create authenticity in us. And the idea behind the VIA strengths test is that the more we do things that create authenticity, the happier we become, the greater our well-being becomes. And actually, just knowing what your strengths are, even having a vocabulary around your strengths, can be so useful. A lot of people take this test and they don't really understand what a strength is. Like, you may say to somebody, "What are your strengths?" And they may say, "Well, I'm really good at cooking." And that isn't technically a strength. Strengths are a little bit deeper and they're much more aligned with our character. But this VIA strengths test is really amazing and I recommend it. It's really great. The fifth way to improve self awareness is self reflection, right? I know it sounds like a pretty obvious thing. Most people would say, well, I reflect all the time. And that's great. I think setting aside time in your day to review your actions, what you did well, what you didn't do so well, what your decisions were as a result of your actions, and also what outcomes you achieved, right? If you're doing things over and over and over again and they're creating difficulty, or even if they're creating great stuff too, that's good to recognize that so you can really double down and do more of those things. Self reflection is really good. I mean, a good way to self reflect is to journal, of course. It's also to just relax and enjoy yourself inside your own mind and treat yourself as an art project in some ways. Don't take yourself too seriously. And I find that self reflection and food is a really great way to start that process, right? Because food is something that you can track, you can understand. What did you eat? What is your diet like? What are you eating and why? And really getting the idea of just observing and getting a sense of what you want to achieve, right? So another great way to improve self-awareness is mindful listening. So listening is an art form, and I think sometimes when we're talking with other people, we're kind of just waiting for our chance to speak. I hold my hands up, right? Like I've been that person in so many conversations, and really we miss so much information when we do that because what we're effectively doing is we're negating whatever the person said before. So I think paying close attention to what and the how of social conversations and interactions means you can really learn a lot about yourself, right? First and foremost, like why did you want to interrupt that person, or why weren't you able to acknowledge that point, or why did you feel uncomfortable when that person said that thing? I think listening deeply means that you will not only improve your empathy, um, but you'll also develop your relationships, right? What's important though is to be authentic throughout. Like no one wants somebody who loudly ahs and oh wow through a conversation, because it just comes off as a bit shallow and people can see through it. But really engaging with the words, really engaging with the other person's whole body or the group is a really amazing way to develop your self-awareness. So another great way is to set yourself goals. These can be big goals, they can be small goals, but really just setting a goal is a really amazing way to understand yourself and how you get things done, right? Productivity or achieving targets or whatever it sounds very work based, but really it's about how you deal with stress, right? So how you deal with focus, how you deal with, making sure that you complete things, right? And targets help us understand ourselves, how we react when we get stressed. And if we can track and learn those things, we can really track and manage those things. We can actually learn a lot from it. I know. I mean, I'm a great starter, and I do struggle with completer finishing. But what I found is by setting goals and tracking myself, I've got a lot better at finishing the things I said I was going to do. So number 8, right, self-compassion. I think this is really important. This is a really great way to start to be a bit more kind and tender towards ourselves, right? Sometimes self-awareness or kind of personal development can be challenging. Sometimes we have to face up to who we actually are in the moment, and sometimes we might not be where we want to be. So I just want to say, be kind to yourself, right? You're on a journey. You're not trying to kind of, get there as quickly as possible. Self awareness and understanding who you are and learning about who you are. It's a lifelong journey. So just encouraging you to be kind, be compassionate, and be patient with yourself. Because whilst you might not get things right the first time, you will learn a lot about what you did right and what you did wrong. And self compassion is so important when we're dealing with self awareness, because you start to understand who you are. And when you're kind to yourself, it gives you a real sense of confidence and connection. And I think the relationship that we have with ourselves is the most important relationship we have in the world. And the way we relate to ourselves, and the way we treat ourselves, it really determines how we feel about ourselves as we make our way through the world. So number 9, I think observing your energy, right, is a really good way to develop self-awareness. When are you tired? When do you have lots of energy? I think tracking energy levels is so vital to being able to do the things you want to do, right? How the world is affecting us. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and a lot of people feeling tired, or maybe they're feeling angry or they're sad, right? Energy levels are really good at revealing some of those emotions, and why are we being drained, and then tracking back or looking through your journal or the things that are happening to really understand what events happened, that were draining you. Sometimes when we have psychic experiences, and I don't mean psychic as in seeing the future, I mean psychic as in psychological experiences that are adverse, it really affects our nervous system and it takes a lot out of us. It's like if you go to the gym as well. People, when you work out in the gym, you use your nervous system, you get tired. So your nervous system is a really big part of how you navigate the world, right? It's how you develop awareness in the world. So energy is really important to helping you understand where you're at, and what's happening and what you're being affected by. And lastly, and this is my favorite one, because it doesn't require doing very much at all other than laying down and listening to a body scan meditation. There are lots, you can find them on YouTube. Um, but look, I think the most important thing about mindful body scans is they take you out of your mind, and they put you into your body in a really simple way. Now, this is a simple process. You've probably done a mindful body scan before. Go into your toes, go into your calves, go into your knees. And they usually last from anything from 10 to 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes is a great amount of time to really do a proper body scan, but really noticing how you feel afterwards, and really understanding how this process affected you. Now, I can go into a kind of a body scan with a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress in my body. But if I allow the body scan just to bring me through the process, to really enable me to go into this part of my body, that part of my body, when I come out of it, I feel extremely refreshed. Sometimes it can take as little as 10 minutes, just for me to start, regulating and feeling, a lot better about the world. The world is stressful, right? And we need to use these tools. So, look, self awareness is a really amazing tool. So tried to give you 10 things that you can possibly use to start unlocking this free superpower. We all have it in us. We just have to develop a little bit, and it doesn't take a huge amount of effort to start to grow, our self awareness. And the benefits, are more creativity, as I've said in the previous video. Being able to, connect better with people, being able to make better decisions, to manage our well being. There are so many things that self awareness can help with. So look, I just wanted to make this video to support, and yeah, if you like it, please leave a comment. And if there's anything you'd like to suggest, then please do. All right, thanks.